Well, hello YouTube. Thank you for clicking on my video, and also thank you to those who are new to my channel. So my name is Ozella Toms, and for those of you who know, you are following me on my journey of writing my memoir. I just got to Detroit, Michigan yesterday to interview my mother. And this building behind me, as you see, a hospital. This is where I was actually born. This is the hospital I was born about 46 years ago. My older two kids were also born there, so it's always a special place to see where my first two packages came from, my first two packages. And I know you see these bags under my eyes. I have not slept in 2 days. It's been really hard. I haven't slept well in 2 days. I haven't had a lack of sleep. But I'm here, ready to do this, and we'll see what happens. So the interview with my mother went very well. I spent about 7 hours with her on that evening. 3 of those hours were dedicated to the interview, and I'm just very appreciative to her for doing this interview with me. I learned several things I just didn't know about. I was able to get a lot of gaps filled in from this interview and just get some information because a lot of things are just family secrets. So I was able to get at least her version of some of the things I've been wanting to know for like a long time. One thing I was able to learn about was what her childhood was like. A lot of times we need to go back to a person's childhood to know why are they the way they are as adults. You know, what are things are affecting them now as a result of things that occurred when they were children. And so that was one thing I really needed to do, was ask about her childhood. So I was able to get some information about that, to know what her family life was like, what it was like living in her household, what her neighborhood was like. And so this information really did help because I'm kind of talking about her at the beginning of the book. I'm giving like background about her, and I'd already started that process, but I needed more information. Another thing that I learned from the interview is that I was actually in foster care before I originally thought I was. So I knew I was in foster care at about 6 months old, but I did not know that I was actually in foster care prior to that time. So she actually told me information about why I was in foster care, what occurred, things of that nature. So I do have that information, which again, that was new information to me. Again, she was just really able to fill in several gaps. One thing she filled in was the day she got me back from foster care. So I was about 4 years old, and I remembered I went back to live with her. I know that I lived with her from the age of 4 to about 13. Then I went back into foster care at 13. So she started talking about the day when I was 4, when she came to pick me up from the center, the foster care center, because it was time for her to get me back. And she told me about what I said to her, what my response was. And at that moment, I remember that day. So I had actually already written about that time in my memoir, but I'm able to go back and add in information about what that response was like, how I responded, how she responded. So again, this is going to be a richer manuscript because of the time I spent with her to do this interview. There was quite a bit of crying towards the end of the interview on her part. She was very apologetic about several things that occurred during my childhood and my, teenage years. And so I do appreciate that. I appreciate her going through the interview process with me because I was asking her to relive a lot of painful memories, and so things that occurred when she was a child, things that occurred when I was a child. And so I'm really appreciative to her for going through that process with me. So I've already went back through the 45-minute interview. I went through and documented things in my memoir. I'm going to do that again. And they're going to move forward to the one that's an hour and 44 minutes. That's going to take quite a bit of time. And so I told my mother what the plan is for me to maybe within a couple of weeks to come back to her with a follow-up interview. So there are some things I'm still kind of shaky on. There's some things that still doesn't quite make sense. And so if I can't make sense of certain things, I just want to include it in the memoir. So I don't want to be putting information that's not correct. So I want to be authentic in this manuscript. And so I'm going to make sure that I can make sense of things, verify things. If I can't do that, then it won't be included. So again, thank you for listening to me in regards to this journey. It's definitely an interesting journey. I'm learning a lot of things about myself, and This has actually been a healing process for me. And the point of me writing a memoir is really not as a healing process. I know some people do that. I guess I knew that would be a byproduct of the memoir process, but I'm glad that I'm able to fill in some information, fill in some gaps to get some type of closure on some things. The last question I asked my mother is, why did she do some of the things she did to me as a child? Why did she do some of the things she did to me? And she gave me an answer, and I'm not sure if the answer is completely what I wanted, but it's her answer, and it's the answer I have. And so I can kind of reflect on that in the memoir as well. But as I did hear about some of the things she experienced as a child, how she grew up, her interactions with her father, I can kind of see some of the things that were manifestations of her childhood and manifested as her being a parent. So I was able to get that information. So please continue to follow me on this journey. For those of you who have subscribed to this channel, thank you for doing so. Please like this video. If you have questions about the interview I did with my mother, ask those questions. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. That would be amazing. Again, thank you so much for your ear, your eyes. Take care of yourself. Stay safe.